Alright, welcome back you guys. Today we're going to be tackling semester number 2, homework 8. So you guys were tasked with writing the method merge, not merge sort, that's a different thing. So you guys are learning about sorting things, obviously, and so you've learned about a couple different ways to do that now. You've learned about bubble sort. I know he also tasked you with looking into like insert sort, and a couple others by yourself. So we're looking at all kind of the quadratic sort methods right now, and then you guys had to write this merge sort that works, basically like this. So you have these lists that are already sorted, and then you kind of put them together into a new list that is also sorted. So he gave you this framework here, this pseudocode. So hopefully you guys looked at that and referred to that. So if list A is completed, then you get everything from list B. If list B is completed, you get the rest from list A. If neither, then you're going to do the whole comparing and then taking from whichever one is less than. So there's it all. So those are your final instructions. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So he told you guys that you were going to get runtime errors and that this is not an easy homework. And yeah, this was not an easy homework assignment. I got runtime errors while I was coming up with my solution. I got zeros and null values in my array when I was coming with my solution. So if you managed to do this, well done. And if you didn't, that's totally cool too, because this was not easy, you guys. So I'm going to show you how I did it. And so hopefully that will help you guys understand. So I know you guys have that whole like sorting class. I just put this at the bottom of starter as a method down here. So I'll just show you how to do that because I know you know how to put it into the class by yourself. So we have up here in main, we just have int array A with some values in it already, int array B with some more values in it, and notice these guys are all sorted. I accidentally tested it when they're not sorted and it doesn't work, which that's fine. The precondition is that they're sorted. So these, if whoever's using it doesn't put sorted lists into your method and it doesn't work, that's user error. That's not your program. So, and then we have our int C, which is going to be a.length plus b.length because we want it to include all of these values. And then we're going to merge A, B, and C. One of the kids in my class asked if he could put only two parameters and then create int array C within the method, and Dr. Neat said that was fine. So, but I did it this way. So we have our three, so this is merge. There are three parameters, A, B, and C. And then first off, we have these two integers, int A accessor and int B accessor. This looks like backcessor with the way I capitalized it, but these are really important because one of the first things that I realized, one of the first problems that I ran into is with this giant for loop that I have here, right, that does all of the sorting for us. The problem is that if you just compare like A of Z, which is our counter, A of Z to B of Z, and then whichever one you don't pick, you're going to be leaving it behind, so to speak. Like, so if B of 2 is less than A of 2, and then you move on and you compare B of 3 and A of 3, you're leaving out A of 2, which we don't want. So I came up with these accessor integers that we're going to use to help us solve that problem. So then, like I said, we have this giant for loop, and this is key. It has to be c.length because we're trying to build all of C, so we want it to be, as long as C is, or you could have also said a.length plus b.length, which is, the length of C that we established up here. So, moving on, our first if statement, and there's a couple if-else statements. This is an else-if, so there's a lot of like if statements going on here. You have a couple of ands, so this is looks kind of messy, but I'll walk you through it. So if A accessor is less than A.length, so it starts at 0, so it's always going to be less than to start with, and B accessor is less than B.length. So in other words, we haven't gotten through all the way through either list yet, right? Like each array still has values that we're taking from. In that case, then we're going to go ahead and move in, like we said. So if this is I did this out of order from what he said. This is part C in the pseudocode, so neither is done, right? Neither of them are complete. Then we're going to do the whole comparing thing. Then we move inside. So if A of A accessor is less than B of B accessor, then C of Z becomes A of A accessor, right? So if the value we're looking at in A is less than the value we're looking at in B, we want to make the next index of our array C the value that we're looking at in A, and then we're going to add one to A accessor saying, hey, okay, we looked at this value of A, so let's move on to the next one. Let's access the next one. And then we have else, because otherwise the only other two scenarios are B is less than the one we're looking at in A, or they're the same, which is why you shouldn't put just another if and then write this backwards. Because if you don't put this else, then you're like not counting for if they're the same. And then in my one up here, I think I have two 14s. Yeah, I have two 14s. So for this else accounts for them being the same. And then so like otherwise C of Z, we just take the one from B and then we add one to B accessor. So this way we're not skipping over them by comparing like the counter variable from the for loop to itself. And then so otherwise if one of the accessors is not less than the length of the array, then so if A accessor is less than a.length, so if this one's still good, right, we still have values left to go in A, but and B accessor is greater than or equal to b.length, then we're going to go ahead and just continue taking the rest of the values from A here. And then else if A accessor is greater than or equal to a.length, so A is done, but B is not done, then we're going to go ahead. And then I don't have one for like if they're both done, because if they're both done, this for loop is over because that means we've reached c.length. So I didn't account for that because of the way that the for loop is set up. That should automatically account for that. And then these else ifs are super important because of the fact that you're changing a accessor within here or b accessor. You're changing one of these accessors. If you don't have this else if, chances are this if statement will go off, and then it'll look at the new value for the accessors, and it'll say, oh, so now this is true, and it'll like put in values that it shouldn't. So you have to have these else ifs, and I'll show you what I mean. Let me run it real quick. Let me just finish walking through. So yeah, so when these are done, which is A and B here, either A is done or B is done, then we're just going to take from the other one, and then this here is just printing it out. So let me show you that it works. So here are my numbers up here, and then I'll go ahead and run this for you. So we'll compile and run it, and I put a 0. So this is sorted. 2 14s are fine. It doesn't matter from which array the 14s come from. They just have to be next to each other, and the values to the left and right have to be less than and greater than respectively. So that's sorted. And then, like I was talking to you, because I was testing it with some system that outprints like right here, so I made these just normal ifs, because if you put like line of code between your like if statements, your else ifs, then it like doesn't work right. So I just made this a normal if, and then what I get is then it doesn't work correctly. So we have this 0 all the way back here, but you know, how is that? Because I only put 1 0 in my arrays. Well, this is our extra value in C. It's null because of the fact that I told it, because like we told it early to go in here because of the fact there's no else if. So that's why that else if is super important. That's why Dr. Meat has been encouraging you from the beginning of the year to use if, else instead of just a bunch of if statements, because there is the possibility, if you're not paying super close attention, that they will both go off when you only want one of them to go off. So hopefully that makes sense. Like I said, this was not easy, and this took me a long time to figure out too. But once I had these accessor methods were kind of the key for me and my understanding at least. So hopefully that kind of gave you an idea. And yeah, you know, if you have any questions, as always, feel free to drop them down in the comments below. And I will see you guys next week. Thank you.